Hey everyone, Adam here with Old Santee Canal Park's education team. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday's virtual field trip. This field trip is all about insects, the incredible insects. So let's get started. We got to figure out what makes an insect an insect. So first thing, all insects need a head. That's how an insect interprets and senses its world, is through its head. Then insects have a thorax. So thoraxes are used for locomotion. So how an insect gets around. Then you have the abdomen. So the abdomen is where all the good stuff is located. The heart, lungs, stomach, all that good stuff located in the abdomen. Now, our bug needs some parts. So we've got to build our bug. So we'll start at the top and work our way down. Insects do not have noses or ears. What they do have is antennas, and that's how they smell, and that's how they hear their world, is through their antennas. Next, bug eyes, bug vision, okay? They see very differently than us. So we only see one picture, one clear picture. Now bugs, has anyone seen a golf ball? Okay. I have one here. So look at this golf ball. So you see all those little dots and circles? Well, if you were to cut this golf ball in half, put one side on one eye, one side on the other eye, and turned all these little dots into computer screens and television screens, what would happen, you would have bug vision. Okay? So it's like looking at 1,000 computer screens or television screens at the same time. It's called complex or compound vision. That's why every time you go to swat a bug, they fly off. They see you coming from 1,000 different ways. Then we have a bug mouth. All right? So I've got a happy bug. So our bug mouths, there's two different mouths in the bug's world. One is a chewing mouth, called a mandible. Think of just like our jaws. Two strong jaws for chewing. So our grasshopper here has two big strong jaws for chewing. Now they can use them for chewing through leaves, chewing through wood, chewing through other insects, or even chewing through your skin in some cases. So that is chewing. The other insect, okay, flies around, and then it might bite you and use its mouth like a straw, called a proboscis, such as a mosquito, okay? A mouth like a straw is designed for drinking. So butterflies have those, mosquitoes, even your common housefly has a proboscis, okay? Now, legs on a bug. All insects have 6 legs. If you know, spiders have 8 legs. Spiders are not insects. They are arachnids. All insects need to have 6 legs. That makes them an insect. All right? Now, okay, so going backward just a second. So a proboscis mouth, look at this weevil right here. That is a straw-like mouth. That is actually a proboscis right there. So, now, all right, other parts that can be used for locomotion or traveling around besides legs, you have wings. Some bugs have wings, some bugs don't, but this is our bug, and it can have whatever we want on it. So, wings, okay? So, that is a bug. Now, some bugs can hurt us because they have stingers, right? They have stingers. So the stinger is located on the abdomen, all right, where all the good stuff is located. So lungs, they actually breathe through tiny little holes called spiracles on their abdomen. So the reason a bee dies when it stings you is that stinger goes in and gets stuck. And when it gets stuck, that bee goes to fly off. And then what happens is that stinger is stuck and it actually rips all their guts out. So a bee really doesn't want to sting you. Their stinger actually looks like a tree. So it has little branches that get stuck in your skin. Versus a wasp, they have a smooth stinger like a cone. And when that goes in, they can just keep stinging you, and it just doesn't get stuck. Now what we're going to do, we're going to talk about a bug's life. So from birth all the way up to an adult. So stay with me. All right, everyone. So we're talking about a bug's life here. The reason I moved into the swamp is because a swamp is an excellent nursery. Lots and lots of insects grow up their lives in a swamp because it's got lots of food and lots of places to hide. So all insects start out their lives as eggs. So an insect lays an egg. Eventually that egg will hatch and turn into, there's lots and lots of names for it. So some of the names you may have heard: caterpillar, larva, maggot, that's the gross one, okay? Grubs, Timon and Pumbaa really like to eat them. And then another name is a nymph, okay? So I actually have a nymph here to show you. It's called a damselfly nymph. So the nymph we have here is called a damselfly nymph. You've got to remember that juvenile insects do not look the same as adult insects. They go through a lot of changes. That's called metamorphosis, okay? That big process of changing throughout their life cycle, that is called metamorphosis. Now this guy, like I said, is a damselfly nymph. It's closely related to a dragonfly. Now, the way you tell them apart when they're adults is damselflies land with their wings together on their back. Dragonflies, on the other hand, always land with their wings out. So this is a damselfly nymph. Its job is to eat and get bigger. That's it. And stay safe and do not get eaten. So damselflies are actually lazy bugs. They don't go through complete metamorphosis. They go through incomplete metamorphosis. And what I mean by that is they don't go into the next stage, such as when a butterfly goes through complete metamorphosis. The next stage would be, if an insect would go through a complete metamorphosis, would be to go into a cocoon. Another name for a cocoon is a pupa. Another name is a chrysalis. So there's 3 different types, okay? So I have some of those right here today to show you. I do not have a chrysalis. Chrysalises are very, very delicate. And when the bug hatches out of a chrysalis, it basically just disintegrates and falls apart. But the cocoon and pupa, hold on, I'll show you. In this jar, I have a cocoon and a pupa. Remember, I don't have a chrysalis because they're very, very delicate and they fall apart. So the cocoon looks like if you took a sock and turn it inside out. So the really fuzzy parts of a sock on the inside. While a pupa is very tough and very, very leathery looking. So that is a pupa and that is a cocoon. The bug will then hatch out of the cocoon, chrysalis, or pupa and turn it into an adult. A nymph, what I mean by incomplete metamorphosis, skips that stage altogether, just goes straight into adult. That's why I call them a lazy bug. So that's a bug's life cycle. It's called metamorphosis because they change. They never look the same as they go through. They start out as an egg, then they go into the larva, the nymph, the caterpillar, then they go into the chrysalis if it's complete metamorphosis, pupa, cocoon, and then they turn into adult and they look very, very different. So that's a bug's life cycle, metamorphosis. Now let's look at some real bugs. So we are located in the park's pollinator garden right now. So lots of flowers are in bloom right now and are a great place to find insects. Lots of insects are pollinators. So we're gonna focus on some of the pollinators, mainly butterflies and moths, because who doesn't like butterflies and moths? Now, butterflies and moths, okay, there's a few of them I wanna talk about. So one of the ones I wanna talk about right now is called the monarch butterfly. You've probably seen these before, okay? Monarch butterflies are very, very cool because they're migratory. They come up from the north and travel all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. Very, very interesting butterfly. But what I really want you to notice is its orange color. Now, if you're wearing orange, are you trying to blend in or are you trying to stand out? Okay, so you're trying to stand out. Now, all insects have adaptations to keep from being eaten. No insect wants to be eaten. That is a bad day in the insect world. So all these adaptations that insects have are primarily to keep from being eaten because they're pretty low on the food chain. Now, this butterfly is actually a poisonous butterfly. So it's only poisonous if you eat it. So don't go eating butterflies, that's kind of weird anyway. So this is a poisonous butterfly and it lets birds and other things that may eat it know it's poisonous by wearing orange. And that says, hey, look at me. If you eat me, I'll make you sick. So that's why it wears orange. Now, another way, okay, you could wear is you could be camouflaged like these dead leaf butterflies. Look how much that thing looks like a leaf. So these insects are playing hide and seek. So because their life depends on it. So they don't want to be seen. So birds and other things that may eat a butterfly don't pay any attention to leaves, so they want to be a leaf. They're playing hide and seek, and that's why they look like leaves. That's another adaptation to be from being eaten. Now, let's shift gears and go into a moth. You may have seen this before. This is called a Luna moth. Now, how do you know a difference between a moth and a butterfly just by looking at it? Well, there's some key characteristics. First off, moths come out at night. They're called nocturnal. Versus butterflies, they come out during the day. They're called diurnal. Now, when you're in a pitch black dark room and you need to find the light switch to turn on the light switch, you have to be able to feel for it, right? Well, moths, they can't feel for it. The only way they can feel is by using their antennas. So I'm gonna supersize our Luna moth for a second. So here's our Luna moth. Look at those antennas. See how they're big and furry? That's so they can see at night. They use those by smelling, and they can hear with them. So that's why moths have big furry antennas. Versus butterflies, they have those cute little club-like antennas, and because they don't really need to see at night. They come out during the day, they just look for the pretty flowers and they fly towards bright colors. So, moths and butterflies. Now, this moth is really cool because it has eyes on its wings, all right? It can't see out of those eyes. It uses those eyes basically to look like boogie monsters, the boogeyman, all right? So if an owl is flying around at night and sees this moth and comes flying to eat it, this moth flaps out its wings real fast and it looks like a giant monster is staring back against that owl, and the owl gets scared and hides under his bed. So, really cool adaptations. Those are just a few moths and butterflies you may find around. So, you might find other insects and bugs. Go out, explore your yard. Remember, insects can sting you, some of them. Some of them can bite you, and some of them, like these butterflies and moths, are very, very delicate. So, just look, figure out what they are, and go out into your yard and explore. So thanks for joining me. Stay tuned for next Wednesday for another virtual field trip.